what were we talking about there? Uh, so yeah, this idea of who is listening. This is the point. So if there's a method that's worked best for me, let's say, or landed the best, it was the method was listening meditation, and then inquiry, so self-inquiry, and in this case would be like who is listening, or who is the host of seeing and hearing, let's say. That inquiry to me really lands the practice or the method of listening meditation in the first place. Because contemporarily in sound meditation, um, we've gone to this place where people are relying on sound to fix whatever they think they need to be fixed, I guess. But if you're there as the one doing the method and being the listener, then that sound meditation might calm the system based on the quality of sound that's happening. So let's say sound bowls, for instance. But if the inquiry is not done, as soon as the sound bowls go off, the listener, the sense of me, takes over, and now it's trying to get away from bad sounds and only get good sounds to quote unquote heal the system. But that's not very reliable. So, sound meditation should really be the point of settling and focusing the mind so that inquiry can take place. So, obviously, the question who is listening is an inquiry based on a method of listening. So, sound really is just the starting point. Uh, Sound is a way to focus the mind and soften and settle the mind and the body. Let's say samatha, so that inquiry can take place into who is listening to that sound. Or inquiry, another word we could say, is like an investigation. If that investigation doesn't take place, sound meditation in many ways isn't that useful as far as a solution. And I come from addiction recovery, so solutions are really what I'm interested in. Like a lasting peace would be a solution. If I'm relying on sounds being good or bad sounds, I'm not going to get any lasting peace out of that, obviously, because sounds come and go. But it's the brain which is identifying good, quote unquote good, and quote unquote bad. That's really the sound that I'm trying to disentangle from. So if we listen, let's say you listen to any sound that's going on. Obviously, there's an ear which is picking up the sound. Yeah. So that's quite obvious. There's a sense of an ear here hearing sounds over there. And then very quickly, when you're doing listening practices, it's very important, as Empty Cloud, the teacher Empty Cloud from Chan Buddhism would say. He would say, what would he say? Essentially, to give up on the ego, but I don't really like the word ego because it gets very confused. So I'd rather say something like give up on conceptual thinking. So when you do that, there's sound happening. Could be any sound. It could be the sound of rain, it could be the sound of something else, yeah? There's a sense of hearing that sound with the ears. When you don't touch the sound with the brain, it's just a sound that goes through. But then eventually your brain comes in and says something about that sound. That sound is good, it's a bird, it's this, it's that, whatever, yeah? I like that sound, I don't like that sound. But obviously there's something hearing the brain when it talks. Otherwise there wouldn't be a knowing of it. There would be a living as it, but you're not the mental system. That's very obvious. So there's a hearing of it from before it, yeah? Now when a sound is heard, the brain identifies that sound with whatever it's going to say it is. So let's say my voice, your brain identifies it as this voice, and then your brain goes, I'm the hearer of that. Now when your head says I, when you use the inquiry who is listening, your head says me or I, you can hear that. Not with the ears, obviously, but from before it, whatever that might mean. Yeah. So there's a sense that you are hearing the I thought, which is obviously still a duality. So then who is hearing the thought me? It takes you back to the I, me thought. Now you're always before that. So you can see this play going on of the mental system from before it. So the ears hear sound, the brain identifies that sound. When the brain identifies that sound, it then says you are the one who hears the sound and you are the one who has identified the sound. And that is the false presentation of an individual. But the thing is, you can hear all of that. So if you go to like a sound meditation or something with sound bowls, you're listening to the bowls, but you're listening to the bowls based on that it's a good sound. And then when you go outside into the city, wherever you live, the cars are considered a bad sound, and now you're completely still bound to all of your opinions. So there was no healing or therapy at all there, actually. The real healing is seeing your true nature, which is what's listening to all of this, yeah? Because when your head says, I'm the listener to the sound, it's presenting that I thought as a separate individual thing. Yeah, so that's really the investigation. Who is listening? When your head says, I am listening, it is saying that the I thought is a permanent individual thing, separate from everything else. Now that's like that's the big mistake, let's say, of the mental system, when it presents the thought me or I. I just like listening because you can hear your head do that, yeah? So whatever your head does, you can hear it do it. But you listen to the mental system based on the thought me or I. You listen to it. But you are the listening which is before it. Before your head claims to be the listener or places a you there as the one hearing a sound, you're already there, let's say. Obviously not as a body, but as the open awareness which is aware of the movements of the head. And then you see the head, or let's say you hear the head, constantly making its move of trying to get out of itself through something like sound meditation. Yeah. So the question is really who is listening? Yeah. The answer would always be me, or I am listening. But you can hear from before it your head say me or I. And you can see that it's presenting that me or I as a permanent independent thing of body. Yeah. So it's kind of like Huang Po said, what is being perceived is not what is perceiving. Well, what is being heard is not what is hearing. And you can hear all the antics of your head. Specifically being the one claiming. Yeah. Claiming to be the hearer, the seer, the taster, the toucher, the feeler. You can hear your head talk that, yeah. And the real investigation is into the one who's hearing the sound, yeah. Because all the thoughts, the mind, let's say small m mind from like the 25 tattvas, all of the contents of the brain are based on you. They're based on it being your brain, yeah. So the investigation is really into the me I thought, the I or me thought, let's say. Yeah. That's the investigation, the base is right there. Who is the one who's listening to all of your other thoughts? Because if you're living as that I or me thought who's hearing all of your other thoughts, you're completely bound to those thoughts. This is to me where like listening meditation becomes extremely helpful when it comes to like the mental system. You can obviously hear your thoughts, but your head is claiming to be the one who's hearing the thoughts. So your head is going, I'm hearing the thoughts. And the tendency is to identify with that I or me thought. But you're before that even. You can hear your head say I or me. Yeah? You're not that I or me thought. Whatever is being heard is not what is hearing. So it's almost like listening in a way is a constant stepping back. So you can hear, let's say, you can hear any rambling on about of your head right now, saying, I get what this guy's talking about, or I don't, this guy's insane. It doesn't matter. You can hear your head doing that, yeah? Now there's a sense that you are in front of that mental system. You are the one hearing. Although when you say, I'm the one hearing, something is hearing that from before it. Which would mean, obviously, you are not the you that is presented from the mental system. But if you are living and listening to that me, me, my thought, then you are bound to all the other thoughts that come after it. And if you are bound to those thoughts, this life can get pretty wild. So to me, this is like why listening meditation is super valuable if it's approached properly. But if you just lay down and listen to nice sounds, it is very calming and it's nice. But that calm is not going to sustain for any amount of time. There's not going to be any lasting peace from that sort of listening if you're still there at the end of it. So the inquiry into the listener is really, to me, that's the most important thing. That inquiry into the listener. Because there is no listener. Your head just presents the idea of being the listener to what's being heard. And if you go with that thought that you're the listener, you are bound to all the other thoughts that come, like good, bad, up, down, and however crazy the brain is going to get. Yeah. So in sound, let's say meditation as a method, there's the sense of the ears listening to sound. Yeah, you stay with that, eliminating all of the concepts and things. You can only do that for so long before your head starts popping up and trying to identify the sound. But you can hear the mental system the same way that you can hear the sound of the birds or the sound of my voice. Yeah? So if you can hear that mental system, you're obviously not that mental system. And then your head will say, I'm the one hearing my thoughts. But you're also aware of that from before it. So then really, who is listening? There's a mental system which is claiming to be the listening. Yeah? I'm just going to check these real quick. Okay. Oh, Samya. Samya, only write if you have a question, please. I feel like we've been through this before, yeah? Okay. Otherwise the chat gets all messed up and I miss questions if people have them. So, the whole basis is the I thought. I forget what I was saying there. So there's the ear listening to sound. Your brain identifies that, and then there's a sense that you're the one hearing the brain. Although when you say, well, who is hearing the brain? Your brain says me. But you can hear the me. Yeah? So there's no getting free, really, as a thought, as an idea. Yeah? Any role of breath awareness is staying in the witness state. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, okay. Breath awareness. Sure. I forget what I was talking about. But anyways, the inquiry is just into the one who thinks that they're listening. Yeah. The head is presenting you as a listener, and that's not true because that's heard from before it. So that's really the whole shebang to me. Yeah. The ears listen to sound. The brain identifies that sound as this, that, or the other thing. There's a sense that you're seeing the brain and you can hear all of that. And what is being heard is not what is hearing. So it's a stepping back or a negation, essentially. You can also hear the body through physical sensation. You can hear the body through physical sensation. Yeah. So obviously, if there's something which is hearing the body, you mustn't be the body. And then the mental system goes, you can hear that. Then your head says, I'm the one hearing the mental system, but you can also hear that. Now, if that really lands, that you're not the me who is hearing the mental system, then you would stop grabbing on to that mental system if there was a knowing that it's not you. Yeah? If there's a knowing that the mental system is not you, that there's a hearing from before it, the tendency to grasp, as they would say in Buddhist talk, the tendency to grasp at the me who's seeing would start to loosen. And that would open up a lot of space, man. And that opens up tons of space on the me thought for sure, but definitely on all the contents of the head that comes after that, yeah. And also the body can finally relax, because if you can hear the body, you mustn't be the body, which means you can stop grasping onto the body. And then the listening, which is before all of this, hears everything all at once. It hears the body, it hears sounds, all the senses unify, or the experience unifies, let's say. And yeah, but there's still even at that point, there's still a sense of the open space of listening and then what's being heard. So there's still then you can inquire into who's the one who knows that they are open listening. Yeah. But that's what's landed most for me, and then you really see the contents of the mental system. You really see the contents of the mental system exposed. And you see that it's always talking about past and future. It's never on what's actually happening. So listening to it would be crazy, really. Because it's never actually it's never actually on what's happening, because it can't grasp what's happening right now. By the time it grasps it as an idea, it's already past. Or it's already passed. So to me, listening is the best way. It's the thing that landed best, but not as a listening like I'm gonna become something. You can hear your mental system trying to become something through spiritual practice. It's completely addicted to spiritual practice for a lot of people. You can hear your head tell you that you're not well, or you need to go meditate, or this, or this, or this, or this. All day you can hear that, yeah? So you can hear your head constantly talking about its addiction. Now, if you're listening to that, and you think that you are going to get back, you think you're going to become open listening as not that, then, man, it's going to be a long road. Yeah. What is being heard is not what's hearing. But what is being heard, the mental system, is not going to become the hearing of itself. It can't do it. You're already free as what you are. Yeah. And in that way, there's a lot, it's really beautiful, because you can stop living under the constant chasing of the mental system trying to become something. And to me, that's like the biggest relief. That's the biggest relief. The biggest relief is that I can hear my head trying to be somewhere else, and I don't have to go with it, because there I am hearing all the time. That to me is the biggest relief. To stop being able to chase some idea of profound whatever, like I'm going to become some magical thing. You already are what you're looking for. You are the hearing. You can hear all of your mental mayhem right now. You can hear it. And it's not about not hearing it. There's a difference between listening and listening to the mental. There's a big difference between those two. There's a difference between hearing something and then living as the hearer of it. Or there's a difference between hearing thoughts and living as the thinker of those thoughts. If you're living as the thinker of those thoughts, which there is no thinker of those thoughts, But if you're living as the thinker of those thoughts, you are completely bound to the contents of those thoughts. You can't get out of them if you're living as the thinker of those thoughts. Yeah. So if you're living as the one who hears sound, you're always going to have opinions about good and bad sound, and there's no peace there. There's no peace. So the real inquiry, once the system is settled down, by listening to sound, is to inquire who's listening to that sound. And then whatever's heard from that point, you can open your hand on it. Because obviously, you're before that. And that opens up a crazy opportunity of sustainable relief. And then you're not bound to the sounds that you're hearing. You are not bound to the sounds that you're hearing being great sounds or not great sounds. Because the one who's dictating whether things are good or bad is heard from before it. So obviously you're not that dictation. And that's beautiful. It's like a very healthy not caring about what the mental says. And then life goes on a lot smoother. Things get a lot smoother. So to me, the method would be listening, yeah? Like listening and letting go, as Shifu says. Listening and letting go. Whatever you can hear, you keep your hand open on that. The body, you can hear it. Tension, you can hear it in the body. You can hear your brain talking all day. You can hear your brain claiming that you are the one who's thinking those thoughts. That's all heard. So investigate who is the one listening to that inside of the body. And that's really something. The thing is that the mental system is very repetitive. So in many ways, the message of not to needs to be very repetitive. Yeah. And you can really sit in that inquiry, because the ears are hearing. If your body is awake, the ears are hearing, The ears are hearing when it's asleep too, but the brain is not catching. So all day you can question, you can inquire into who is hearing it. And your head will always say me. It would be the same inquiry as who is thinking in many ways. And man, that's great. So listening to sound can calm the system, but if you're still living as the one who's hearing the sound, then that system's not going to stay calm very long, because as soon as the head comes back in, then you're going to listen to it. If the inquiry has not been done to see that there's no one there before all these thoughts listening to them, then you're just going to take the thoughts right back up. Yeah. So sound meditation, to me, is like it's a calming of the system for sure, through just focus on the listening, and then that inquiry is really what drops the rock, And the open listening, call it open listening or call it awareness or call it whatever you want, Buddha nature, it doesn't matter. That's always hearing everything. So whatever is heard in this case is negated as what you are, because obviously there's some space before all of that, or let's say the space, all of that, the open space that all of the contents of that space moves through, that's aware of or hearing it, including hearing the idea that you're the hearer. And that's really beautiful, So we don't get caught up on the sounds that we're listening to. We don't get caught up in the thoughts. Really, the investigation is into the me. It's into the who. Who are all these thoughts arising to? Me. When your head says me, you can hear that from before it. Something can hear it from before it. It's just you identify with that me thought. Because it says, when your head says me, it says body. And it's presenting this as a permanent, independent thing apart from all other seeming permanent, independent things that the senses are seeing. And the brain is identifying. And that's sort of the false movement that any inquiry or practice is really uprooting. Is the independence of the individual, which the head is presenting all day long. So all the other thoughts, sensations, emotions are not the inquiry. The inquiry is into the seeming one who is hearing the sound. The seeming one who is hearing the sound. That's what's landed. And then in addiction recovery, they call that one who's in front of all the other mental contents, self. And then they would say self-reliance will fail you. So it's beautiful because it's a real, very clean. Self-reliance will fail you. Great. Don't rely on that mental movement then. And then life goes on, yeah. The conditioning of the mental system goes on. And on and on and on and on. It will never stop, that's the thing, yeah. The grasping onto it stops, and that will slow it down a lot. Because it's really the grasping on being the one who's hearing. And as they say in Buddhism, if you can break through one sense, so let's say the sense of hearing, then all of the knots are undone for the senses. And then the whole thing can kind of, things move a lot smoother when I'm not grabbing onto them, trying to control them and drive them. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm just going to check the thing here. Place this in harm's way if we're not judging sounds for the sake of knowing. I'm not sure about that. Okay. Could it be place us in harm's way if we're not judging? The thing is, your brain is always going to judge sounds. This isn't about judging sounds or not judging sounds. Yeah, that's going to happen because the brain is a conditioned movement. When your eyes see a tree, your head says tree. You don't do that. There's no doer of those thoughts and movements. It's conditioned. So when your head hears a fire truck, it says fire truck. That's happening no matter what. This isn't about stopping that. There's no doer who's doing that. That's a direct response. Instant, yeah? The whole point is who is the one who sees the head do that? Or who is the one who hears the mental system say fire truck? Yeah? But your head is always going to distinguish between this and that. Because you're not doing that. There's a sense that you're doing it, which is what the inquiry starts to uproot. But it will continue on because it's a conditioned response. So this voice is this, and this voice is this. Yeah? This sound is this sound is this. That's the head. That's the mental system makes that movement no matter what. But the investigation is who is the one who hears that mental. And then your head says me. Yeah? Now the me and the head that is interpreting sound and the me are not two separate things. But the mental system is splitting off. And it's presenting its own duality. So I'm the one who thinks about the sound of the fire truck, and I'm the one who hears that thinking. That's a duality, yeah? So from non-duality, you're not the mental system which is saying fire truck, nor are you the one who's claiming to see that. There is no one seeing that. It's all one mental system. That's the beauty of the listening. You can hear all of it. So you just always stick with who is hearing this. Who is hearing this? Who is hearing this? Yeah. You don't touch the mind which is distinguishing, nor do you touch the me thought which is saying it is seeing that from before it. which it's not. It's all one system, yeah? So you see that the mental system pops into its own duality. Thoughts, and then the thinker who's seeing the thoughts. That's not two separate things. That's one mental system presenting one thing after the other in succession very fast. You're before all of that. Yeah? You can hear all of that. The same way you can hear tension in your forehead, so you let go of tension in your forehead. Yeah. So that's the beauty. The ears listen to sound in some sort of sound, like the sound of rain or something, let's say, yeah. You can hear your brain going off. You can hear it say sound of rain, you can hear it think about the past and the future, you can hear all of that, great. But that puts you in the seat of being the one who's hearing the brain, which has you completely bound to the brain. No matter how much people say, no, I can hear it, I'm not listening to it, you're completely listening to it if you're identified as the one who's hearing it. Because you're identified as the one who's thinking those thoughts. And from that standpoint, you are going with those thoughts. You can't stop it. Yeah? But you can hear this whole thing happening. So that's why you stay on the thought me, or the one who is hearing the mental system. Yeah, so listening meditation goes from sound in the ears and it gets more subtle, let's say, or gets like, it falls into the body in a weird way. It's like you receive sound, you don't touch it with the brain, then the brain eventually goes. You hear the brain go with whatever it's going to present, and then you hear the brain go, I'm the one hearing the brain. And you see that that's all one mental system. And when your head goes, I'm hearing, it's presenting that there's a thing called you in here somewhere, which is separate and independent, which is not the case. So then what is listening to all of that? You're not going to become awareness. J never becomes ethereal awareness or Buddha nature or whatever. J is heard, and if it's negated or not touched, then you eventually land in what you already are, which would be the open listening, which is always listening. Whether this body goes to sleep or this body is awake, that listening is on all the time. All the time. J is heard. It's not what is hearing, but it is saying that it is what's hearing. And that's what sound meditation to me should be uprooting. Is when your brain goes, I'm what's hearing the brain. That's the brain talking, and you are hearing that from before it. Yeah. Now there's a lot of relief there, because you can stop grasping onto all of the mental contents, and then you'll really see how insane it is. You'll really see how wild the brain is at that point. Yeah. Distractions in life alter listening and hearing. Trying not to allow those distractions. What you are as open listening and hearing cannot be affected. It's not altered by anything. Sound moves straight through that hearing without affecting it. The same way wind moves through space, or the same way the clouds move through the sky without changing the sky. All of your mental contents, your physical contents, all the contents of J moves through open listening without changing open listening at all. Awareness, nothing happens to awareness. Yeah? So if distractions in life are altering listening, who is the one who knows that? You would be back to the me thought, and if you can hear that, you're not it. That's obviously not what you are, me, if you can hear it when your brain thinks it. So it's not so much trying to allow or not allow life. It's an investigation through the canal of hearing. And it's quite beautiful in many ways. Because when you sit back into the open listening, there's an opening of the hand on the contents of experience, but nothing goes anywhere. You just stop grabbing on it. That to me is like relief. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. You just stop grasping onto it. Because you see, if you can hear something, that you're not it, so you stop grabbing it. And when you stop grabbing it, you don't really care about the sounds and the things that are going on so much. And that is the relief. And because it's a very healthy not caring in many ways, because big part of it is that everything's happening to you. And there is no independent thing called you. So if you see that through listening meditation, that's beautiful, because when your head gets super offended and binding on to things and doing this and this from its self-centeredness, which is a self-centered system, you don't go with it. And things get a lot lighter in many ways. That's the thing about listening meditation to me. It can in many ways save your life. If you have a brain like mine that says crazy, crazy stuff in the past and would get very depressed based on its own ideas, if the listening meditation and the inquiry can break the bondage to those thought forms based on the knowing that they're not your thought forms. And the bondage is a grasping, really, based on the me. I'm the one hearing, but you can hear that I thought. And that would loosen the weight of all the thoughts that come after it. Like by a lot. Because they're not taken to be so personal. If my head says I'm worthless and I'm living as the one, the me, who is worthless, I'm in trouble, pretty much. But if it's really embodied that there is no thing called me, then what is that mental system talking about? And what's hearing all of this play anyways? Yeah. You're obviously before all of that, not as a body nor a thought. Awareness doesn't have any thoughts. It's just open listening. It's hearing all of this stuff go on, you know. So to me, that is sound meditation, really. It's an inquiry into who is listening. It is inquiry into who is listening. That to me is like, now we're on to something, yeah. And whatever's heard is not grasped. But if you think you're going to go to sound meditations and the sounds that you're hearing are going to heal you, you're in trouble. Because you're the one going to the sound meditation and you're the one who's trying to get healed. And if you're attached to that one who's doing that, when you leave that sound meditation, the only answer for your brain is going to be more. And always wanting more based on the mental ideas is a rough game to play in. So to me, sound therapy really comes from the active investigation of who's the one listening to the sound. Which is, by the way, pretty much the same as the Ramana Maharshi self-inquiry, or any self-inquiry. Hua Tao or Hua Tu or whatever from Chan or Koan, anything like this, you know. That to me is like, you really can really put down the weight of this life through sound meditation. What are the steps to course correct a faulty mental system? Well, who's the one who sees the faulty mental system, you know? I have no idea. Maybe talk to a psychotherapist or something. I don't know. My only interest really is peace. And I don't know. I don't have much faith that the mental system is ever going to, quote unquote, course correct enough to have lasting peace. Because the mental system's dualistic, so it's always bouncing back and forth. It's always bouncing. If you approach any meditation practice or spiritual practice as a way to try to stabilize that, it's always going to fail, which might have a lot of value, because then maybe you'll give up on the idea that you're going to get there. That you as a body are going to finally stabilize in some lasting peace. That can't happen because the mental system's dualistic and you're not doing it in the first place. That's not the only way I feel you get lasting peace is by inquiring into who is the one that's hearing that mental system. When your head says me, you are not that me. That to me, that from a real investigation inside the body, to be able to open the hand on that me thought, you stop caring about course correcting the mental system because you see how erratic it is. You can hear how erratic it is. You can hear it. To me, the only way for lasting peace is a negation. It is not an acquisition. When I'm talking about sound meditation, you sit down, you do pick up a method, of course, of listening, yeah? Relaxing the body and start to listen. But beyond that, it's not about Jay becoming awareness. Jay never becomes awareness. Not because Jay hasn't tried hard enough. Jay almost killed himself trying hard enough to do that. That failed. Great. Yeah. Then another message came in called Nonduality or Advaita Vedanta or Chan, and that's pointed to a negation. So when the sitting down and listening starts, it starts with sound, yes. At the start it does, but eventually you don't even need that. You can just go right into the investigation, yeah. So it starts with sound, but beyond that, whatever's heard is negated. I'm not following the mental system when it goes, now we're going to do a great thing. Yeah? No, that's heard. If it's heard, it's not touched. That's it, really. That's it. All the ideas of I'm going to fix the mental system or I'm gonna get it into a position where it's always going to be happy, that is nonsense to me. That doesn't even make sense because it's a dualistic system. It goes back and forth. That's life, yeah. If you're trying to stabilize it in this, it's just not going to work. There's no you there to stabilize it anyway. So if that's really embodied, you wouldn't care about the course correction of a faulty mental system, nor would you say it's faulty. The mental system is not faulty. The mental system is just doing what it does, which is swinging back and forth. Yeah. Listening to it, it can definitely be taken as faulty if it's my mental system. Because now it's compared to other mental systems. And now we're back in the dualistic play of it all. That doesn't work to me. That does not work. As soon as there's a me involved, a fixing of a me, I don't, that's not the game. I don't get it. And I understand that 95 or 99% of contemporary spiritual stuff you hear is about fixing me. But if there is no me, which is the whole story of Buddhism in there's a sense of Jay for sure. And Jay goes to recovery, addiction recovery, to clean it up and whatever, but I'm still not Jay. There still is no individual thing called Jay. So any spiritual investigation which is like trying to manipulate Jayness, like I can hear my brain swinging back and forth constantly. I don't see how in hell I'm going to get that thing into a position that's going to be happy. It's never happy. Somebody could give me $1 million and I'd want two. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. What is being heard is not what is hearing, yeah? So it gets negated as what you are. If you can hear something, you're obviously before it. So the faulty mental system, you can hear it. Otherwise, you wouldn't tell me that you have a faulty mental system. And then the you who's presenting as a mental idea, who's hearing it, you can hear that as well. So you're obviously not the me that you're living as, yeah? I lived as the thought me, which tied me to all the mental contents, the quote-unquote faulty mental system of my own, based on the me thought. And I wasn't the mental system that was quote-unquote faulty, nor was I the me thoughts, because I could hear the whole thing from before it. Therein lies your relief. It is not J is going to become open listening. No. As soon as these ears hear something, the brain identifies them, and now it's a this and that, and there's no freedom in that. There's no freedom in that. Because it's always going to go back and forth. So whatever is heard, that ain't you. To put it the most direct way that I feel like I could. But if you're chasing the mental contents around, it's always going to keep running you around. It will never, it's just going to keep running you around. You can hear it all day, but you're living from the sense of me, which is hearing that mental content, or presenting to be the one who's hearing the mental contents, yeah. So it hasn't stepped back far enough. But trying to adjust my thought system to be in a stable place, I gave up on that a long time ago. That failed so much that it was, yeah. It was just obvious that it was going to keep going. And then I thought if I negated it enough, the thing is, when you sit back into the open listening, Buddha nature, let's say, the mental system keeps going pretty much the same way it kept going. It got a lot quieter, but the ideas still present the same way, you know, because it really shows you that you're not doing that mental system. You're not doing that. What's your name? K. You're not doing the idea that your mental system is faulty. That's a conditioned idea. And you're buying that thought based on it being your thought. But you can hear your head talk about its faultiness, and you can hear your head say, I'm the one who's hearing that mental system. From before it, you can hear it. It's just, yeah. So rather than going with it, this message of not two, whatever it points up as two, you negate that. That's not you doing that. You're being had by those thoughts based on that you're being the one who's hearing them. Yeah. But the hearing we're talking about is before. So you would go right back to who is hearing those thoughts about a faulty mental system. The answer will always be me or I. That it will always come back to me or I thought. The I, me, mine, the ahankara, as they would say in Sanskrit. So it will always come back to that. When your head says me, that these are my thoughts, it's presenting as an individual thing. And that's not true. It's just one of the thoughts. And to me, the best way is through hearing. If you can hear something, not with the ears obviously, but from before it, oh man, that ain't you, obviously. That's not where you start. Now what's being heard can only arise because of the hearing, but the only way to actually sit into that, which is the only real interest here, because ideas and holding the concepts that you're open hearing are completely useless, because the brain claims it right now. It's claiming it. Yeah. The investigation needs to be done, is the point. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if any of that lands anywhere, but that's what's worked for me. And it keeps it very simple. Whatever is heard, I'm not listening to that and obeying it. Yeah. I'm questioning who's hearing that. And if the answer to the question, who is listening, is heard, then guess what? That would leave you in a pause, really. That would leave you in a pause. If you're not the thought I, me, my, because that's obviously heard from before it, that would pause, yeah. And then your head will come up with the next thing, but you can hear it. So you stop grasping what's heard. So the listening gets more subtle. It like regresses in a way. Down inside of the body, way back. Let's go like that. Whatever's heard, I can hear the body, the physical body. Yeah. If I sit down and I relax the body, I start listening to the sound of rain. Leave the thinking mind or concepts completely off to the side. Just listen. Yeah. And then whatever's heard, the mental system comes up, says this is good rain or bad rain. Obviously, you can hear that from before it, so you must be somewhere before that. Yeah. You can hear the body tighten. Okay, I can hear that. Not with the ears, but there's an awareness of it. Yeah. You can hear sensation. You can hear emotion. All this stuff is happening for sure. Yeah. So it's really a non-grasping onto what's heard. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's it. You'll see the eyes grasped onto objects. You'll see the ears try to grab sounds. You'll see the grabbing onto the thought based on the idea that it's being your thought. Man, you hear all of it. And you'll see what you were living as. And you sit back into the listening, it's not taken so personally, and then you really see how wild it can be. And then you really stop listening to it. Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. Because listening is not, it's not asking you to get somewhere, you know. Thinking has you trying to get somewhere. It has you trying to get out of something and trying to get into something else. Thinking, that's all it does. It's a craving, desirous movement. It will never stop that way, and it's not really a negative thing either, because it keeps us going through this life, you know. But it will never stop, and listening doesn't give it room, because listening is not asking you to get anywhere. What we stop listening to is the conditioned mind patterns. Yeah. Ward. What you stop listening to is the conditioned mind patterns. Yes, but that's based on, Ward, the seeing that the one who thinks they're hearing the mind patterns is also not you, because that's also heard. So it's not like you, Ward, stop listening to the mind patterns. You see that you, Ward, is also heard. And that gives you the permission to loosen the grip on the mind patterns, based on not being the one who is thinking those thoughts. But you, the sense of J or me, that cannot stop listening to conditioned patterns. If I'm tied to those patterns as being the thinker of them or the one who's hearing them, I'm tied to them. It doesn't matter how much I say I'm not tied to them, I'm tied to them. So it would need to come back to the inquiry then. Yeah? Who is the one who's hearing the mind patterns? I am. Well, you can hear that I am from before it. So you're not even the I who is trying to stop listening. But who is aware? That's a good point. Who is aware that they are not the mind patterns? The brain can only say me. It has no other move. Your brain and my brain make the same move. So who's aware of the mind patterns? I am, yeah? Well, that's not, if you know Ramana Maharshi, that I am is not the big I am he's talking about. That I am is the individual I am. And when your head says me, I can hear the mind patterns. I'm aware of them, or I am not them. If you go with that I thought as being you, you're tied to them no matter what. That it's going to get you eventually. And it's probably going to get you the same way that it got me, which was through the real core belief, which to me was that everything's my fault. So when something happened in my life, My head interpreted it as always, and it said, this is your fault. Yeah? Now, I was in the seat of, okay, I'm aware of that thought, but I'm not that thought. But those conditioned beliefs, those will get you eventually. You are tied to them if you are the one who's hearing them and the one who's saying that's not them. Because, Ward, there is no one. There's no individuality. There's no individual thing which is seeing and claiming to not be those thoughts. What's doing that is those thoughts. So thoughts are saying essentially, I'm not thoughts. That's the mental system breaking into two. Now you can hear all of that. So if you don't touch the thoughts nor the I, then what remains, as Ramana would say. So we can reduce to the 0 point of I. You and me don't reduce to that point. J never becomes a 0 point. J always has itself as the one, or as the number one, let's say. J doesn't get back to 0. This is the misunderstanding, you see. This is good. This is a big misunderstanding that J is going to get free. You don't get free from self, like they say in Advaita. You don't get free as self. You get free from self. So I, J, does not get back to 0. I am heard. So whatever is before that I, now we're really starting to get somewhere, yeah? But what's hearing the I thought is always before it. The I thought, me, definitely thinks it's going to get free. And when you don't touch it, it still thinks it's going to get free. But Ward and J don't get free. Yeah? Ward and J are heard. And when not grasped onto, things get a lot freer. For J, let's say, but not by making J some ethereal thing. J is a dualistic back and forth movement that is heard constantly. The idea that J is going to get free as a lasting, sustainable peace was a big mistake that I was stuck in for quite a while. And when that failed, it was a big blow to J. It almost caused J to relapse, actually. Yeah. There's a hearing of everything right now from before it. You are already the freedom that the brain is looking for, or the me thought is looking for. The sense of self is constantly searching to be free. Yeah? But it's heard. So something is hearing that now. It's from identifying or grasping onto that me thought that you go with it, and now we're in the constant search to try to get back to what you already are, yeah? But what's trying to become what you already are is heard. It's not getting back to the hearing. You are already the hearing. Yeah. This is the beauty of the listening. It totally cuts the head off spiritual seeking, which is a huge weight lifted in this life. Because spiritual seeking is like worse than alcohol addiction in some ways. If you can hear it, you stop touching it, yeah? So when your head makes the move of, I'm going to become the 0 point or something, and by the way, the mental system does not like this message because the mental system is in the business of improving, yeah? But to become what you already are, it's never going to get there. Let that really slap you, Ward. Because if you're like me and you spent a long time spiritually seeking, and like my head, I really, really wanted out of this suffering. And I was very committed to the idea that I was going to get out of it. And man, that weight is a heavy ass weight, you know. And like Paul Hederman always points out, nobody's stopping the spiritual seeker. Nobody, people want to stop the alcoholic because I was crazy, 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 you know? But if there's more spiritual seeking, nobody's saying, hey, you should stop doing that. Well, the practice of listening cuts the head off of that. And that to me is the beauty of it. That's one of the reasons I'm back here doing these talks. Because I do listening stuff every day on this thing. Whatever this is, the app thing here, you know? But I'm still seeing the spiritual seeking. So we've got to come back to the inquiry on who is listening, which is the same inquiry on who is the one trying to get out of the discomfort. Yeah. If it can be heard, it's not what's hearing. Ah, man. That weight to me, Ward, was the big... Because I can hear my head seeking all day. And it will continue to seek, you know? But the idea of the idea that I'm going to go seek to get free as the mental system, at least that seeking has been kaputted. But not the head still presents the idea. Because it's like somebody said earlier, the idea that my mental system is faulty. My head always sees that way. It's conditioned that way, and that's how it sees. And I just saw that was not going to change. Man. Yeah. The tendency to drop into the habitual thinking is based on the idea that it's your thinking, yeah? So who is hearing the thinking? It's the same thing. You can hear the sound of birds, let's say. Yeah? Now, the sound of birds doesn't affect you very much. But the thoughts will kill you. Because the sound of the birds is not you, but the thoughts are being taken to be yours. Yet you're hearing both the sound of the birds and the thoughts. So it comes down to the you. Yeah? Now the thoughts are taken to be your thoughts. The sound of the birds just have you as the hearer. But you're tied to the thoughts because the sound of the thoughts seem to be that's the sound of you. It's like your head is talking to you in your voice. This is the conundrum of addiction in many ways. Self is talking to you as you, but that ain't you. But unless you hear that you're not self, you're listening to it because it's talking to you as you, yeah? So the inquiry has to go into who is hearing those thoughts. Now you already know very well that the answer is going to be me or I. And if you're not that me or I, because it is heard by something, by some open whatever, is hearing that me or I, then the real question comes in, well, who am I if I'm not that I thought? And then there's a lot of space there. There's a pause. There's a stop, yeah? There's a stopping of the sound of the mental system. And you're still there. Not as a body, obviously. And that's amazing. Because if something can stop and you're still there, that would mean that you are not what is constantly moving. And you can stay in that open listening because it's what you are. Now that open listening doesn't need to stabilize. But the grasping onto what's moving, when that really lands, you see that you've never gone anywhere, essentially. Like I was in Peru for a few months, and now I'm here in Canada. And Peru is only an idea at this point. Now, if I'm following the constant idea of Peru, those memories, yeah, which is mostly what the head presents as memories, if I'm taking those based on the me, then there's this constant craving to want to get out of Canada and back to Peru. But the head now can remember Peru, and it's very clear that it's a memory, yes? And it's very clear that that's in the past, and none of that's happening right now, because it's all heard. The nowness of listening, of open listening, is hearing the past and future move through it. And if there's a grasping at that mental memory, then there's a constant dying or a craving to get somewhere else. And to me, like, addiction recovery is that craving to get out of this is receded. Not based on not only listening not to the thoughts, but to seeing that you're not the listener, that there is no listener. That there is no listener. Yeah. There's listening, but when the head says I'm the listener, that ain't there. That's all heard. Being taught to yeah, that's right, Monica. That's good. Although I was in the jungle, and jungle life is hard, man. There's a lot of bugs and shit. Being taught to spiritually research things. Well, it's not just work and school, by the way, that tells you to research things. It's not just work and school. Spirituality will be like the worst addiction of researching things. You feel alive in Peru. I feel very alive right now sitting here in Toronto. That's the beauty of it, man. The beauty of not being tied to the body and the mind is that it doesn't matter where you are, you feel alive. That is the beauty of it. If we're tied to being in a certain place and in a certain condition with certain sounds, it's going to be a rough road, this life. To me, recovery is there's freedom. What did Baisao, the tea seller, the Zen guy, there's a poem that he wrote, and he said at the end of it, I take life as it comes to me, and everywhere I am is free. Now, when he says, I take life as it comes to me, and everywhere I am is free, he's obviously not talking about the mental system. Because the mental system does not take life as it comes to it. It wants life a certain way. And it definitely doesn't feel free everywhere it is. So obviously, Baisao is not identified with the body and the mind if he takes life as it comes to him and everywhere he goes is free. You can hear the brain want to be somewhere else constantly. Woo! You can hear that, and what is being heard is not you. So if you investigate that, you'll see that there is a sense of self, and that is the constant yapping of Jay. That is the sense of self, and that's going on, that's happening for sure. It doesn't have its own existence. The existence comes from living, so it's a non-existent sense of self, but there is that sense, and it is happening. Yeah. And there's a sense that I'm doing it, and I'm hearing it, but that I is also heard, which means I must be before that. And then things get interesting. Okay, let's stop there for today, maybe. Yeah. And